Hello, everyone. Welcome to Module 7, PA 460. We are almost done. I had my booster shot, so if I'm a little incoherent, I will apologize right off the bat. To start off for Module 7, it's going to look similar to last week. And we have the overview, and this is where the video will be placed. And we have the learning activities similar to before. You have a part 1 associated with Chapter 11, Environmental and Energy Policy, and a review part 2, Foreign Policy and Homeland Security, and several different videos throughout the module. We have a TED Talk and discussion, and we have Group Project 3, your final group project worksheet. I'm sure you're all going to celebrate. And I will go over that more in depth in just a second. And then, of course, you have your reading quiz for chapters 11 and 12. So, part 1, environmental and energy policy. First, read chapter 11, of course. Go over the material in the module, watch the videos. Pay attention especially to specific acts, and you'll see that in the study guide for the exam. We don't need to know all of these, but several are very important, especially the 7 major modern environmental movement statutes. Hint, hint, hint. So we get through this, and then we have part 2, Foreign Policy and Homeland Security, and some interesting videos there. Graphs and all that good stuff. And then we get to the TED Talk, Margaret Bourdeau, and you have your short essay question. And please remember to respond to a fellow student. Otherwise, you lose that point, and some people are forgetting to do that. Make sure that you do that as well. And you have Group Project 3 Policy Summary and Performance Measurement Worksheet. So this is kind of the culmination of the previous 2 worksheets into one. So you, of course, have the template to work from first, and then you have the actual example I give you, which always pay attention to the example and see how it's done there. And I'm going to close this share. First, we'll come back to that. First, let's go to the chapter quiz. And now I'm going to stop this share and then share the performance measurement worksheet example. So here you see a societal problem that's from the previous worksheet and worksheets rather, and that's chronic homelessness in Imperial County, California. Make sure to pay attention to the notes that I put with your group in the grading, in the speed grader, and that's going to help with improving some of these items that are from previous worksheets. So primary stakeholders says 3 or more, definitely looking for more if possible. And we see 9 different stakeholders here. For this example, you don't need 9 exactly, but 5, 6 is good. Make sure to note several of you, I would suggest additional stakeholders to add those to this list. So don't just copy and paste what you put last time. Make sure you do check the comments. So the policy alternative, and this is from the previous worksheet, was the Chronic Homeless Outreach Project, or CHOP. And the summary, just keep it very simple. You're just going to explain the basics. In this case, you have 4 different programs, which are the components implemented by Imperial County, coordinating with other area organizations, cities, nonprofits, public safety, state organizations, could be federal organizations as well. Funded by local government, county, and participating cities with state and federal grant support. So I don't need you to get into the weeds of which particular state or federal grant, just so that you understand where funding comes from for a project like this. Policy alternative components. In this case, we have the 4. Again, it's similar to the Albuquerque There's a Better Way program, day worker program with outreach van, shelter program, temporary and permanent placement, health services program, mental and physical health, as well as substance abuse treatment, and job skills and placement program. The market failures addressed, and it says 1 or more, but you should have a couple. Most will have at least 2. Some may have 1, but that's rare. So in this case, it was inequitable market failure, and the reason why is because of access to healthcare in a for-profit system is more difficult for chronically homeless, as well as the market-based housing system makes it provides for a lack of affordable housing. Substance abuse treatment programs require resources generally not available to chronically homeless. That doesn't mean there aren't programs for chronically homeless, but sometimes the more effective programs are not available unless you have very good insurance. High unemployment rates, so the market's not providing enough jobs, as well as the county does not have the administrative capacity to address the issue. So the system can't provide for it. So something needs to be done. Information failures. Obviously, chronically homeless are not aware of resources available or do not have access to those resources. They're not aware, in many cases, of their own mental, physical health issues. They lack the information. They haven't been to see a physician. Family members and friends are not aware of what to do, the service available as well. So there could be misinformation about what to do in these situations. And negative externalities, which we talked about before, where you have first responders, fire and police and sheriff have to address chronic homeless issues, and they're not always the best equipped to handle in the long term mental and physical health issues, etc. You also have vagrancy issues affecting businesses, use of public spaces, all of that stuff, community reputation. So public policy instruments implemented, 1 or more. In this case, you have government management. And in this case, there's a government management for each of the 4 programs, the components. Information, education, and research. And that's a significant element for all programs. So we're going into not just mentioning the public policy instrument implemented, but also say, where is this taking place? Now, the shelter is a public-private partnership, but there are coordinating efforts to get those into the shelter housing that are government management. So make sure to note both. Public-private partnerships, this would be for several different things. The shelter we just discussed, health services programs. This could be with a public-public partnership or a public-private partnership, depending on the area. You could also have a P3 initiative with a local community college, a public-public, or a private contractor, Pearson, someone like that, public-private, for the job skills and placement. Market mechanisms. The chronically homeless are incentivized to work rather than panhandle through day worker program. You can also add subsidy to that is a market mechanism as they're being paid. Policy goals. So this is important. So goals are outcomes desired. So this is the big picture. Outcome 1, the reduction of the percentage of chronic homeless in Imperial County, California, obviously. Outcome 2, the reduction of the percentage of the chronically homeless treated and housed who go through the program returning to chronic homelessness, and that's recidivism rate. You want that low. And outcome 3, the reduction of public service calls related to the chronically homeless. So you want to reduce those very expensive, time-consuming activities associated with first responders. So all of those things can be measured. And when you're thinking of policy goals and outcomes, think of things that could be measured in some way. So we look at reduction of percentage of chronic homeless, there's generally homeless population surveys in most major cities annually. And so that can be measured. The reduction of percentage of chronically homeless treated and housed returning to chronic homelessness, that's recidivism rate. That would mean your program keeps track of those who complete the program to check how they're doing down the road and would have some record of that. And public service calls related to chronically homeless, that's going to be, of course, kept in the data for police, fire, health, human services, all of that. So performance measurement, policy inputs, and there's quite a few. So you don't have to get too specific here. Don't get lost in the woods and have every different staff member's duties. For example, input 1 here is administrative staff, and that's salary and benefits. That's all I want to see. Input 2, administration, facility costs and maintenance. And even if there's already a building there, you do need to calculate maintenance costs. Input 3, social work staff. So that's a bit different because it's not administrative staff. So that's going to have its own category. And their salary and benefits. It's not just the salary. Input 4, healthcare service costs. So these could be consulting costs, medical supplies, addiction treatment services, all of that. And it could be, most of these would be in a P3 situation. Input 5, job skills services. So you have equipment, consulting costs, supplies for job skills personnel. That is, if this is a P3 like it is in this case, then you wouldn't have, your primary cost is the consulting costs with that vendor. Input 6, outreach van purchase and maintenance. And maintenance includes insurance, gas, all of that. Input 7, outreach van worker staff. And that should say salary and benefits. I left that out, I apologize. And input 8, temporary housing facility purchase, equipment, and maintenance. So in this case, they are going to provide a temporary shelter, but the more long-term shelter would be something that's a P3 initiative. And you could do it however you want for your program. So policy outputs, this is the product or service that's produced. So it has to be very specific. Sometimes we say outputs and people are thinking outcomes, and they would say, that there's less homeless, or the homeless are better prepared for society. That's too general, too vague. So policy output is a specific thing. So output 1 in this case is chronically homeless person completing successful day worker assignment. Measurable. How many homeless completed an assignment? We had 12 this week, 18 yesterday, whatever it is. You can measure that. Output 2, chronically homeless person successfully housed in temporary housing. Easy to measure. Again, output's easy to measure. Service being provided. Output 3, chronically homeless person successfully completing mental health counseling program. Output 4, chronically homeless person successfully completing substance abuse treatment program. And you get this, job skills training program. These are separate outputs because they're separate services. Output 6, this is more of a long-term, chronically homeless person successfully obtaining permanent employment. Output 7, chronically homeless person successfully obtaining permanent housing. So those are the ultimate goals of the program. But in the meantime, you have other outputs to get to that level. Efficiency. Efficiency and effectiveness are often confused. The words are used interchangeably, and so there's a colloquial context that isn't always correct. For this class, we've gone over it several times, but efficiency, all we're caring about is the amount of inputs it takes to create an output. That's it. Whether the output works or not, that's an effectiveness question. In this case, we're just looking at, do you understand the concept of inputs and outputs? So very simple. We're looking at an output. And in this case, you have, you choose one of the above outputs and you say what inputs go into it. So this, we have chosen the day worker assignment, output 1. And you can choose any one of their outputs that you like. I just want one example. So input 1, administrative staff plus input 2 plus input 6, all from above, exactly as you wrote it, plus the outreach, man, purchase, and maintenance. So you're getting an idea of what type costs go into each one of these outputs. And all of these things through input 7 equals output 1, chronically homeless person completing successful day worker assignment. So that shows efficiency. So how do you measure efficiency? You would measure it, you want to lower the total average cost of providing inputs 1, 2, 6, and 7 associated with producing 1 unit of output 1. And that's 1 chronically homeless person completing 1 successful day worker assignment. So that's efficiency. Effectiveness, does it work? Are the goals being met? And in this case, we have outcome 1, which relates back to your goals. Right here, outcome 1, outcome 2, outcome 3 relates directly to that. So this, I just want to see that you know how you would approach it or measure it. Not exactly, but have the concept down. So outcome 1, the per capita percentage of chronic homeless in Imperial County, California would have to be lower while controlling for all other factors influencing the increase or decrease of chronic homelessness in Imperial County and the greater region or nation. That language at the end, so you're looking at the chronic homeless population, that's how you measure it, which is done by the city or county or whomever. That having the other controlling factors in just shows me that you understand that the amount could be up or down, but there could be other factors contributing to that. Now, I'm not going to ask you to get into the woods on that at all. I just want you to list that you understand there's going to be other factors to control for. Okay, outcome 2, the recidivism rate of the chronically homeless participation in the CHOP program and successfully housed would be lower. So you want the recidivism rate, those who go back to the street, going down, controlling for all other factors, influencing the increase or decrease of the recidivism rate outside the control of the CHOP program. Remember, I didn't get into a whole slew of different reasons. That's well beyond the scope of this assignment, but just so that you understand that, make a little note, 1 sentence. Outcome 3, the number of public service calls related to the chronically homeless goes down. And we say per capita in this case, because it could go up, but the city's got twice as large in 10 years. And actually per capita, it's less. So we're controlling for the size of the city. And then we also put in the sentence while controlling for all other factors that influence public service calls relating to the chronically homeless. And that is it. And make sure to go over this and reach out to your group members, emails, respond quickly and to each other, and put something together after you've reviewed the comments from the earlier assignments from me. So next week is finishing up a lot of this stuff, and then module 8, of course, is the final exam. Thank you, and I will see you next week.